Yo, what is going on, you guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I'm bringing you a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2 video and the top 5 Spider people I'd like to see appear in the sequel. And I know that there was a little teaser that was put out teasing the new versions of Spider-Man that could appear in the sequel. However, I'm going to be going over out of them and a few others who I'd like to appear. As we know, we don't have many story details to who and what will show up, just mini teasers, so anything is up to speculation. And not all of my picks for who I'd like to see will be the ones that were teased, and this will not include anyone from the Spider team in the first movie. And with that out of the way, if you do enjoy all types of Spider-Man content from news, theories and fanfictions, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell next to the subscribe button to not miss any content as soon as it goes up on the channel. And with that being said, let's get straight into this video. Number 5, Spider-Man 2099. Now, he was teased at the end of the last movie, so it's obvious that I'd have him on this list. I just have him at number 5 purely because we already know he's most likely to show up out of the 5 I have on this list. And I'd love to finally see Miguel O'Hara's story on the big screen, even if it's through the Spider-Verse movie. I think that it'll give him a relatively big role, even though obviously the movie will be set around Miles, Gwen and possibly Peter B. Parker as the main 3 characters again. I'd still love to see him play a big part though, and I'm a huge 2099 fan. Number 4, Silk. It's all new, it's all fresh. Not many people are fond of Sydney Moon from the comics because she was introduced in one of the more controversial comic storylines for Spider-Man. However, I do think that this character would be cool to explore in the sequel. I really do think that the first movie did Miles so much justice for his character to the point where he's really different than he was in the comics, but better. So if they could do the same thing with Sydney Moon, that would be awesome. They could take elements from her origin in the comics about how she was also bitten by the same spider as Peter, and maybe this causes her some restraints and she has to get over some mental hurdles because Peter was seen as this grand hero, and maybe Sydney was cast away. Or maybe Sydney could tie into the villain and, like in the comics, be kept away from society, and maybe the villain of the movie could be trying to make a spider army for some reason, and maybe Sydney is one of the results of said experiment. There are endless possibilities with this character and the story. Number 3. Okay, let's get this one out of the way with, and you all saw it coming because you guys know me, but Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker. Now obviously Sony said it was too soon to put Tobey, Andrew and Tom into the first movie. However, come 4 years, the next one will have come out, and maybe, just maybe, we could get a short and sweet cameo from my boy Tobey Maguire. It doesn't even have to affect the story. I genuinely just think it'd be really cool to see him show up for a little cameo here and there and be done with. Number 2, Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider. Now, if we're assuming that Peter B. Parker will return for the sequel, it'd be cool to see Ben Reilly be introduced into the Spider-Verse. The fact that Ben is technically Peter Parker but isn't at the same time would be a really cool dynamic to explore. Maybe because Ben is a clone of Peter, he resents Peter and almost hates him, and then doesn't trust him at all. Maybe they could reference the Clone Saga in some capacity where Ben would reveal that it was almost proven that Ben wasn't the clone, but he was still put through hell because everyone cast him aside because he wasn't the real Peter Parker. It could be some kind of twist, and obviously not exactly like the Clone Saga, but a little bit different because, you know, it wasn't the best. This could lead to him to not trust Peter in the sequel, and then his whole character arc, along with Peter, could be to trust each other to help defeat whoever the villain is by the end of the movie. This dynamic especially would work with the Spider-Verse movie, and Ben Reilly being one of those Spider-Men that were teased. I'd love to see this sort of story in the sequel. Number 1, and this one might come as a bit of a surprise for you guys, but 616 Miles Morales. One character I think would be really cool is if the Miles Morales from the 616 universe showed up in Into the Spider-Verse sequel. We've seen multiple versions of Peter Parker show up in the Spider-Verse movie. However, something that Spider-Verse has never really explored in the comics or movies is what if different versions of Miles Morales showed up. Now, the 616 Miles Morales basically an evil, sadistic version of the Miles character, so I think it'd be really cool to see him show up in this movie for story and character purposes. What if the main villain was the 616 Miles and the movie explored the idea of him having the spider abilities like the Ultimate and Spider-Verse versions of Miles, and what havoc he'd cause with those abilities. And maybe if he wears his own version of a custom Spider-Man suit, maybe an evil rendition, it's a massive big reveal that the villain is another version of our main character, Miles, which, knowing Miles' character from the first movie, would come as a shock to him. To have to look into the face of an evil version of himself, it would absolutely crush him. This would also mirror the reveal of Uncle Aaron in the first movie. They could play off this as well for story and character by having the notion that if Miles carries on a certain path that he's going down in the sequel, he could end up like the evil version of himself, almost like a live long enough to see yourself become the villain type situation. This would mirror Peter sacrificing himself in the first movie as well, and Miles might think that that's his destiny as Spider-Man, but then the idea that Spider-Man isn't who anyone else wants him to be other than Miles would kick in, or something of the sort, and then Miles has to write his own destiny, which ties into the first movie about how Miles has to be his own Spider-Man and not Peter. Peter. And now it's about writing that destiny and going forward. Using an evil version of Miles would open up so many story opportunities like I just mentioned, and that's why it's my number one. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to. Tell me in the comments below, who do you want to show up in Spider-Verse 2? Name some Spider-Man women, pigs, I don't know. Who do you want to show up in Spider-Verse 2? Let me know in the comments below. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe like I did say, and make sure to follow my socials in the description down below if you haven't already. And with that being said, once again, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.